Well, let me first of all begin by congratulating Sanjay for the release of his book. We've been looking forward to this for some time. And some of us who get up early in the morning, and I must say I have to exclude myself from that company. The occasional time that I got up early, I know that the one thing I look forward to is the morning snippet that you get from Sanjay. And I realized one day, one of the reasons that we get our snippet so early is that Sanjay is a very early riser. Right? Get up at 5 or something, and the snippet is out by that time. And we go a long way back. We were together in college. I must say, this also looks like a St. Stephen's College Alumni Association meeting. One of the perks of being here this evening is to meet up with a lot of our friends. But also, we caught up on and off over the years. More recently, I think, when a lot of our very good common friends also got together. And the one thing that I always thought when I went with Sanjay was that you always felt that there was a certain amount of energy and optimism in everything that you, in all the time that you spent with him. And we got together on quite a few occasions when I used to visit Delhi when I was posted out. And you realize that here's someone who you met, and every time you met him, was so, I would say, buoyant, optimistic about everything. He never let the fact that he was going through very severe health issues come in the way of his approach to life in general. And at some stage, I want to read out one of his snippets that I thought was very interesting. The approach to how he sees life and how we have to get the best of every moment in life. There, we all have a lot to learn. We get busy with our work, we get busy with our schedules. Everybody is tied up with the things that are important to do. But at the end of the day, I think when you look at it, that's all, you step back and look at it. You really need to make the best of every moment that you have. And that is, I think, what Sanjay brings home to you when you do that. Is that, look, we have whatever time that we have, let's make the best of it. And friendships, comradeships, the associations you build over time, very precious. And again, I can say that on a personal level, all of us are so tied up with doing the things we can, that these are the things that you really miss out on, and you feel that as you go along life's highway, you really need opportunity, you need to keep that time that you can spend with your close friends, your college mates, your school mates, your people who have been with you for a long period of time. So all the best to you, Sanjay, as we go along. I hope we'll sort of say a few words and come back into sure. So,
good evening, Mani Namaskar. Wonderful to see Monica and Vidur here. I'm missing Karan. Sanjay, of course, is as Harshi said, a survivor of sorts. Absolutely, full of energy. Sometimes, in the past, I remember we used to find his energy a little too much. But then, nonetheless, he was a good friend, and that's how things are. It's wonderful to be sharing a podium with Harshi. Harsh, I'm meeting him after 40 years. He was a batch senior to me in college. And wonderful to have you, Balesh, over here. By the way, here I'm a little outnumbered, even though I went to college. He's from history. Harsh, you're from history. Ajai is from history.
You have company here, Eco?
He's also, Eco.
Okay.
So I thought, we were creating history today, the economics of it didn't fall into place, so it was history. But having said that, the reflections, if you see, I wouldn't have imagined, Sanjay writing this maybe 10 years back. I got to know Sanjay much better when I was handling the Stephanian Western India chapter. We used to call it Swiss, not a Swiss account, but it was, a group of us who did a lot of masti also. And I managed that for almost about 8 to 10 years when I was there. So that's when I got to see Sanjay. and we got very friendly. We went to Ladakh, Leh. Then we did a lot of things, which some of which I may not want to share here. But the point is that he's come home. My mom sends good wishes to you. I just flew in from Bhubaneswar, where my mom stays. She remembers Sanjay. This guy would get up Harsh at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I said 5, but I stand corrected.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Let me correct all of you. He doesn't sleep. Ask auntie. She'll testify.
But his reflections would be there, and he's also very customer centric. When he would send these messages, he would also once in a while ask, "Deepak, tell me here honestly, तेरे को ये अच्छा लगता है कि नहीं? Does it make sense?" So just a couple of days back, there was one of the messages. He mentioned that you should not have a knee-jerk reaction to problems. Otherwise, that in itself becomes a problem. And you should look at all that. बहुत ज्ञान लगा है उसमें. तो मैंने संजय को बोला यार implement कैसे करेगा? Because I think all of us know Sanjay very well. So Monica, you bear me out. I said Sanjay, तू practice कैसे करेगा? You मेरे को ये बता. So he has promised that tonight he said, I will have the honor of explaining to you how to do it. So I'm looking forward to it. On a serious note, I think a book like Reflections can only come when you go through sort of experiences, very intense experiences. And I think Sanjay has been through very intense experiences. Even when he went through these intense experiences, a number of highs and lows which we all go through, but he's never had that thing of giving up. He would just face it. So much so that sometimes we would say, "Kya guts hai iska?" Like when he went to Leh, and Leh, can you imagine there with oxygen level being what it is? And I think we were almost in similar size. So there he walked around and all that. Without a mask. Without a mask.
Like today.
So I will not make it boring, except to end on the note that you can write such a book only when you go through intense experiences, and that's when you mellow down. And I loved his message that he sent. Please come for my first book launch. So I'm sure that in the years to come you will have maybe a flowing beard. Guruji will be there with lots of books. I have no doubt. I may be joking, but I'm quite sure that he is going to come out with many more books. And this is the beginning. Sanjay, congratulations. It's fantastic. You are so, determined to do what you did, what you want. This book, I think we discussed once in the club 3 years ago. And it's come out. So hats off to you, compliments. I will just take one last point about BEML, the company that I work for. Since they have sponsored it, they're going to ask me what the hell. So just to tell you that BEML is a company which is Atmanirbhar company. Even before Made in India and Atmanirbhar came, we have exported to 68 countries. And we are the market leaders in metro coaches. We make 45% of all the metro coaches made in India. I will end on that note. Thank you very much. It's absolutely a delight to be here.
When Sanjay asked me, and in fact he informed me one day that he's about to collect all his morning deliberations into form of a book, I was quite excited with the idea. And then he said that, look, why don't you give me something which you would like me to include in the book? So I was wonderstruck with that. I said, why me? In fact, Sanjay and I came to know each other only about 3 years back. And initially, when at 5 o'clock in the morning again, I'm an early riser, I would see his message probably among the first. I initially thought that, look, this is that good morning, greetings, monotonous. And initially I ignored also for a week or two. But then, on one of those low days, when I read that, I realized that here is somebody who's actually going beyond his experience. It's a lot of introspection. And I'm very happy to know that Reflections, and below that is a journey of self-introspection. And what he gives us every day in the morning is food for thought. And before we can even digest it by that day, next morning there is another food for us to look at and introspect. It's quite a challenge, and here is somebody who is throwing that challenges to us almost on a daily basis. Sanjay, it's tremendous. Every day reading your morning deliberation, and believe me that I have been deliberating a lot. After I was introduced to morning deliberations, both in personal as well as professional life. And congratulations for this fantastic effort. I'm sure there will be many more to come. Congratulations.
Deepak introduced us, and today God is kind enough that we stand by each other. He's a true friend, and I keep telling, very, very tough taskmaster. So waiting for a friend, but it's, and in each of these deliberations, a lot of people have asked me on this quiet, "Sir, Sanjay ji खुद लिखते हैं क्या?" ये काफी चिंतन मनन करते हैं.
Yeah, after this is going to meet you behind the screen. Notwithstanding what is written by the height.
So at the end of the day, it's a lot of thought which goes into it, and as Deepak and Harsh and Balesh pointed out, it can only come from a lot of introspection. We are used to, a very, very, I would say, privileged lifestyle by virtue of an accident of our birth. And we've enjoyed our lives. But to take time out and then reflect and introspect is something which is amazing. Sanjay, there are a few of these books, so many that we get. There is one particular one which really, intrigues me. Something which you say E versus W. And I would honestly request you to elaborate for us.